the sartorial kitchen, we are heading back to my friend Ruth's for an Italian feast, kicking things off by making a homemade gnudi with an assortment of dipping sauces. Then it's a capraise bruschetta, followed by a charcuterie board with fresh burrata and olives. And last but not least, my friend Andrea is making a chocolate éclair cake. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with us?
Welcome back, everybody. You are in for a treat today because we are going over my friend Ruth's again. This time it's an Italian appetizers party. I am starting with a capraise. One of my favorite salads. Just the freshness. I love the tomatoes and the basil, the mozzarella pearls. But it's not really an appetizer as is. And what I love to do is just find different ways to take the classic salad and just do it in a new, fun kind of way. So I thought about bruschetta, why not? So I've got a couple teaspoons of the balsamic and a little bit of the oil. I'm just going to throw in some salt and pepper to balance that out. We'll give it a little stir. I always like to start with my dressing, and then you can just throw things in and kind of toss it together. It's so much easier. And then I'm just going to prep the pearls and the tomatoes and kind of let them chill out. We'll add the basil later. And when this hits that warm crostini, oh, it's just going to be so decadent. Alright, that looks pretty good. You can always give it a little taste if you want to make sure you got the right balance here. You also want that kind of syrupy consistency. And this is just a simple little dressing. It's great for like chicken and stuff too. And then I'm just going to take the tomatoes and we'll just slice them right into the dressing. And what I love is the tomatoes, especially the grape tomatoes, they're nice and juicy. And that juice is just going to add some nice flavor to our dressing. And they're just going to break down and get nice and tender and flavorful. Alright, that is the last of our tomatoes. And now it's time for the mozzarella pearls, my favorite part. Because I always say a salad is not a salad without cheese. Or at least it's not a very good one. Just drain the liquid off of these. That liquid's just to keep the mozzarella fresh. It's not going to add any flavor to our dressing. And then we just dump the mozzarella pearls right in. Of course, we have to check and make sure that they're quality mozzarella. You can't beat fresh mozzarella. Then we'll just grab a spoon and give this a little stir. Just till everything is coated in that dressing, the tomatoes and the mozzarella. And you can just see how everything's getting coated. So beautiful, so good. It's going to be even better with the crostini. Alright, that looks pretty good. I may come in here and just give one of these babies a taste. See how that dressing goes. Perfect. Just a little bit of sweetness, a little acidity. Perfect. It's going to be even better when that mellows out and breaks down. And of course on the crostini, forget about it. So I'm going to put this up. And we will move on to the gnudi. Alright, gnudi time. And I don't mean that I'm going to strip down. Gnudi is actually an Italian cheese dumpling. It has kind of a similar quality to like a gnocchi. But really, it's just lasagna filling, ricotta and Parmesan and salt, pepper. I'm gonna be extra and do a little kind of like garlic salt, a little Italian seasoning for color. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna start with my dry ingredients first, which is just 2 cups of flour. I'm gonna level that out so I make sure I get the right measurement. I'm going to leave the flour out because I need a little for when I form the gnudi. So there's our 2 cups of flour. Now for the wet ingredients, I need about 4 cups, which is going to be about this entire container here, of whole milk ricotta. Beautiful. Oh yeah. Just kind of mush that around. Ricotta, if you guys didn't know, is like one of my favorite cheeses of all time. I can do just about anything with it. And we need 2 eggs. I'm going to crack them into this container so I can watch eggshells. We don't want eggshells in our gnudi. And I'm just going to break up those yolks, give them a little scramble before I throw them in so they incorporate easier. Right on top. Great. And some grated Parmesan, about a 1/4 cup, which I think is going to be just about the rest of this container. So I like the Parmesan. You get that nuttiness, and it also is a way of kind of adding salt without really adding salt. Perfect. I am going to throw some pepper in here. About maybe a 1/2 teaspoon. And then I am going to put in a little garlic salt here. I like that garlicky flavor, so we can do about a teaspoon of that. And just for some color and a little flavor here, about 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Dried Italian seasoning, it's strong, so you don't need a whole lot. You get a lot of bang for your buck there. And then I'm just going to come in here with my spoon. I don't want to overwork this flour because it's going to make our gnudi tough. So I just like to come in here. And I'm going to switch to a bigger spoon. I like to come in here and get underneath at the bottom and just fold over on itself. One, we're not overworking the flour this way, and it's also good to help keep the flour from flying out all over the place with a whisk. Let's say this looks pretty good. It almost kind of looks like kind of like pizza dough before it's risen. Almost kind of has that consistency to it. A little pasty from the cheese. Perfect. Let's get rid of that guy. Now I'm going to take just a little flour here and dust my pan with it. That's going to keep it from sticking. And then I will take my scoop and we will roll them out. And this is where our hands get a little dirty. You can make them bigger if you want, but this is like an appetizer, so I just want little ones. I'm just going to plop it right into that flour. We'll Just do a few and we'll line them all out. We're just gonna get some of that flour coated on it. That's gonna keep it from sticking. Just roll it out into a nice ball and set it right there. Nice. And it's just as easy as that. I'm gonna finish these guys up and I will be back with you in a second. Here is our gnudi. So I didn't mention this before. This recipe made about 40 balls. So we'll have plenty. I'm just going to cover them in plastic wrap and let them chill out in the fridge. And then I will clean up and head to Ruth's and see you guys there. Stay tuned. Alright guys, looky looky, gnudi time. And I've got all my goodies here, the capraise and the stuff for the charcuterie board. So we can get our Italian feast on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got different meats here, salami, prosciutto, and then I got a mix of cheeses. Normally what I like to do is I just do like meat, cheese. We'll leave a spot for like the crackers. And what I love about this is you just get to be creative and kind of artistic. You just lay everything out and have fun with it. It's almost like painting a picture with food. And then we've also got some crackers here, so we'll leave some room for that. And this is great. It's just 4 different cheeses here: provolone, fontina, parmesan, asiago. And it's already sliced, so it's like super easy. And I just kind of take it and I just like to kind of fan it out. Just kind of have fun with it. Then you can take like some crackers. And people can just help themselves. It's that easy. Alright, there is our charcuterie board.
And what about this?
So I splurged and got some burrata. So those of you who have not had burrata before, it is like a mozzarella, but you cut into it and it just oozes out, and it's so decadent. You can serve it hot, you can serve it cold. I just thought it would be a fun little treat. And it fits perfectly within our olives. So, I think we're ready to get the bread out of the oven and plate up. Alright guys, welcome back. We are at Ruth's, and it is gnudi time. I've got my gnudi here. So like I said before, you just roll it in a little flour, you let it chill out in the fridge, and it's ready to go. This cooks very similarly to a gnocchi. It's going to float to the top when it's ready. I'm probably going to do about 3 batches. I don't want to overcrowd my pan. And I've just thrown it into some boiling water. I've salted it. That's going to add a little flavor here. I didn't add much salt to the gnudi because it's got all that Parmesan in it. And I think I can get these last guys here. Perfect. I just want to give them a little zhuzh to make sure they're not sticking together. Now while that starts to cook, we're going to move on to our bread here. I've got a nice little baguette. I'm going to cut little slices, and that's going to be the vehicle for our capraise. Alright, I've got the bread sliced up. I'm just going to drizzle a little oil on top. That's going to help it get nice and toasty. It's also adding a lot of good flavor. Alright, that's good. I've got the oven preheated to 400 degrees. They're little tiny pieces, so 4 or 5 minutes tops. They should be done about the same time as our gnudi. All right, these babies are floating to the surface. That means they are done. I'm just gonna take them out gently. Let that water drain. I don't want it on the plate. And then our next batch here. Now normally, people serve gnudi as an antipasta, and it's they usually cook it in the sauce, but I thought this would be a fun appetizer. I've got an assortment of dipping sauces, and people can just help themselves and kind of dip it out how they want. And then let's go ahead and get the rest of our gnudi in. Alright, so I've got some marinara here, and I've got some pesto. I thought it would be fun to have some options. So the marinara is pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to take some of this, and I'm going to spoon it right out into this bowl. And then people can just kind of help themselves. Now the pesto, it's concentrated. This is fine for like flatbreads and stuff, but when you're using it as a sauce, you kind of need to thin it out. I've got about half a jar left. This is the jar that I had from the farfalle. So I'm just going to spoon some of our cooking liquid right in here. That should be good. Close our lid and give it a little shake. And then it should just pour right out. Beautiful. Oh yeah. Oh, and you can smell the minute that hot water hits the basil, and just kind of stir it up a little. Perfect. These are ready for the gnudi. Ready for the bread to come out? Doesn't that look amazing? I'm going to set that here, right next to our salad. And I just need one more thing, and that is some basil. We've got a lovely little fresh basil plant here. I'm just going to pull a few leaves. It's just for a garnish, so I don't need a lot. And let's get this guy here. Now the trick to basil, I've probably shown you guys this before, but I'm going to show you again, because some of you are new to the channel. You take the basil, I usually start from the stem, and you just roll it up on itself, kind of like a sleeping bag. And then you come in here with the knife, and voila. And then you have nice little ribbons of basil. Here is the last of our gnudi. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I can't wait to dig my teeth into these. And this is ready for, I'm going to turn this off. This is ready for the table as well, and then all we have to do is assemble our crostini. Alright guys, so the bread as is toasted, that's crostini. When you add toppings to it, it becomes bruschetta. So first I'm going to lay out my bread, and I probably don't need all of it to begin with, I just want enough to cover this platter. And what I love about the bread, it's got all these nooks and crannies, so it's going to soak up this dressing, and it's just going to be amazing. So I'm just going to take some of this and just spoon it right on top, just gently. I just want to make sure I get a little bit of everything. And then we take some of our basil, and it's just a garnish. You just sprinkle it right on top. Beautiful. And that is capraise crostini. I'll get the rest of this together, and then we will be ready to feast. Alright, here is the bruschetta. So good. And our little feast is ready. what? I'm so ready to dig in. I think first I'm going to start with the gnudi. Oh my gosh. So, similar to a gnocchi, it's very soft and pillowy, but you just get that burst of cheese, and the pesto is great on it. And the charcuterie is pretty self-explanatory. I just love having different options for everybody. But I'm really excited for this. Capraise is one of my favorite salads, and I love finding different ways to showcase it. Yeah, that's great. The bread just gives a lovely texture. That tomato just bursts in your mouth when you bite into it, and that cheese is so creamy. And the dressing, just the perfect balance. The basil gives it a nice little fun freshness. So good. Okay, so we're gonna finish up here, and then my friend Andrea has put together a neat little chocolate eclair cake, and I'm gonna show you how she put that together, so stay tuned. Delicious eclair cake. And now that you see how it's been put together, let's dish it up. I love that chocolate topping. It's nice and crisp. Alright guys, I am ready to dig in. As you saw, this is a no-bake recipe. You know what, sometimes I like no-bake recipes. I do icebox cakes all the time. This is very similar to that. It's easy because you can just throw everything together and you put it in the fridge and it's good to go. You're not making a bunch of dishes, you're not messing with the oven. And you can never go wrong with chocolate, right? Ooh, so normally I do like a frosting on top. She did more of like a shell-style chocolate, which I actually like because it gives you some nice texture because it's soft. You know, the graham crackers are soft, the pudding's soft. So you like to have a textural component. This is great. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet. The dark chocolate kind of gives it a little richness to cut through the sweetness. A perfect end to a perfect meal. So, once again, I thank you guys for joining us. As always, like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comments section. And until next time, bon appetit.